Baptists, they stress Bible reading. Like Catholics, they teach their children the importance of the communion offering. Like the Amish of Pennsylvania and the Middle West, the women dress modestly. But like nobody else, they focus their professed faith on the smoking of marijuana. It is shortly after 5 a.m. You and I might call that an ungodly hour, but members of the Ethiopian Zion Coptic Church say it is the first of many godly hours in their day. A day which, for most of them, will include only about 5 hours sleep. Who are they? Well, there's Brother Butch, who says he's the son of a well-to-do auto parts manufacturer. There's Brother Lance, who says he was an Army squad leader in Vietnam. There is Brother Love, who says he's the son of a prosperous New England businessman, a former computer firm executive, and now spokesman for the Miami Coptics. There is Brother Ed, who says he once dabbled in real estate near Chicago. There's Brother Robert, who says he drugged himself for 2 years on the streets of Haight-Ashbury before becoming a Coptic 6 years ago. There is also Brian. And David. And a collection of other children who have no backgrounds other than this. Their parents, for the most part, are remnants of the so-called lost generation of the 60s. No longer, however, does each do his own thing. Now, they all do the same thing. They say they all learned the same thing in Jamaica, where they became devotees of the Ganja people, Ganja meaning marijuana. And what they say they learned is a religion with roots in the centuries-old practice of Christianity and the centuries-old practice of marijuana smoking.
What is it that the people who come here have in common?
A desire for a spiritual fulfillment, a desire to find a genuine love, a desire for brotherhood.
Brother Love and I talked on the patio of the mansion, which serves as a house of worship for the Miami Coptics. The mansion is on Star Island in Biscayne Bay. In the driveway are testimonies to the prosperity of the Coptics, people who have quit their jobs. How do they support themselves? Brother Love won't say, except to discourse on the spiritual wealth of the church. He will say a lot about other things, though, and he will especially say a lot about homosexuality. The Coptics seem obsessed with the subject and share a collective attitude toward it that makes Anita Bryant look like a softie.
One of the tenets of the church is that we are in the midst of a homosexual mad society. It's everywhere. They're on the streets holding up signs saying we're homosexual lawyers, we're homosexual judges, we're homosexual informers. There seems to be no shame involved in it. The overall permissiveness of the society toward these sins of the flesh, the homosexuality, the adultery, the masturbation, the fornication, these are the most dangerous elements to the youth and the people of the world today. We of the Coptic Church, as individuals, have passed through the world. We've tasted of the evil tree. We've rejected the evil tree. We accept the Bible as our foundation, and we accept the Ganja as our communion, and we reject the sodomy. We reject the adultery, we reject the fornication, the drugs, the bar rooms, the dog tracks, the gay bars. We reject all that and pray to live in peace with all our fellow men.
And what, you might ask, do the Coptics do all day besides smoke and pray? As far as we could see, not much of anything except talk.
Modern business
We're not surprised when we hear things are collapsing, you know.
And they talk all the time, usually about themselves, and the good life they live, and the evil life everyone else lives, and they talk to anyone who will listen. And when they talk to people like me, who tires quickly of hearing how good they are and how evil I am, they become instant and horrible bores. So why, if they're such crashing bores, do they get so much play in the papers and on TV, you may very justifiably ask? They get the publicity simply because they practice what they say is their religion by doing something against the law, by smoking very substantial quantities of marijuana, and by having their children smoke substantial quantities of marijuana. Perhaps in sincere pursuit of religious convictions, perhaps not. They do something which would get the rest of us thrown into jail. They are newsworthy and they know it. More on the Coptic publicity machine and a talk with a recent convert tomorrow. I'm Mark Lundner.
And there was also other news of the pot-smoking group. 3 members of the Zion Coptic Church appeared at the Dade State Attorney's Office today. They were subpoenaed by prosecutor Hank Adorno. Coptics were called as part of an investigation into their activities. Those called were Miami sect leader Brother Love and Robert Cohen and Jacqueline Town. Coverage they've gotten is the church's well-organized publicity campaign. Tonight, the second segment of a week-long look at the Coptics with lifestyle reporter Mark Ludner.
See the tea I'm boiling? It grows on a hedge right outside this back kitchen door right here.
Like the rest of the Coptics, Brother Robert says he is an herbalist. Like the rest of the Coptics, he says he's renounced drugs. Why then does he smoke marijuana all the time? Because he and the rest of the Coptics say marijuana is not a drug, it is, they say, a God-given herb. And what has made the Coptics so controversial is their dedication to their God-given herb. They smoke all the time. Their children smoke an awful lot. All partake in what the Coptics insist is their holy sacrament, the communion they share in their devotion to God and the Bible. Now, back in the 60s, when most of the Coptics recall becoming alienated from conventional society, people who smoked a lot of marijuana thought it was a good idea to keep rather quiet about it, given the authorities and all that. Not the 1978 Coptics, though. They are determined to keep the world posted about themselves. For that purpose, they have a telex. They take out full-page newspaper ads.
This is Brother Love calling from the Coptic Church.
Well, you know, like the thing is,
They pepper Miami news outlets with updates about themselves.
Okay, I just wanted to make you know that right now down at the Dade County Courthouse, our attorney is filing a registered replevant action, or whatever you call it.
The news usually concerns one of their legal battles. They follow themselves in the papers, and they read with interest any news about marijuana, even if they're not involved. And they diligently record all the television news about them on 2 videotape machines. Brother Love, the Coptic spokesman, says all the media consciousness is in self-defense. He says his group is being persecuted for its beliefs and must tell its side of the story.
You're not dealing with a bunch of little flunky blow-away druggies. We're not trying to get stoned. We're not encouraging anybody to get stoned. We're telling the people to be more godly in their life of living, to be more godly in their understanding of their own body, that everybody should, in a hurry, find out what sin is and avoid it at all costs. Long years we were here, and until the first thing appeared in the Miami Herald, nobody knew we were here. No one knew nothing about us, and our neighbors never said nothing like that about us.
All the publicity about the Coptics helped bring Tony Barron of Miami Beach into the Coptic fold.
A lot of the people here say they came after years of being lost. A lot of people who were your age maybe 10 years ago during the 60s. Were you lost? You don't seem to be lost.
I can't say I was really lost because I hadn't experienced a whole lot in the world, but One thing I said to myself before I ever came here was that I didn't want to have a 9 to 5 and be a routine job, office, whatever, you know. I wanted to just actually get enough money so I didn't have to do that. You know, just go out and live on however I wanted to.
But why did he choose this?
Because I believe that, or I've come to know that this is the way that I want to live. It's a righteous life. They deal with the Bible. The things of the world I'm not so interested in anymore. You know, it's just...
How old are you?
18. I just turned 18.
So there we are, a collection of 60s-era dropouts who say they finally found themselves, and at least one child of the 70s who thinks he's found himself without first taking the time and trouble to lose himself. I'm neither an anthropologist, nor a sociologist, nor a psychologist, nor any other ologist. I don't know whether the Coptics will remain true to their professed tenets of love and brotherhood, or whether, like many Christian and Jewish groups of history, they will become violent or suicidal. This I do know, though, and this bothers me. The younger Coptics have no real choice in any of this. Children, like David, like Brian, smoke marijuana and tobacco while doing their lessons. They're kept out of regular schools. They watch their parents lead lives which do not include outside work. And what about this 11-year-old boy who comes in off the street after school and smokes with the Coptics? This boy and the boys and girls who are the Coptic children are the subjects of tomorrow's report. I'm Mark Lundner.
It's nice sitting in the sun.
And question them on a civil matter. They say it's going toward an injunction and trying to use criminal process for the state to subpoena someone, bring them from their home, drag them before 4 or 5 people to question them for an interminable length of time is repugnant, I believe, to our Constitution unless they're investigating a crime. They're here on a civil matter. They should use the rules of civil procedure.
Judge John Gordon said he would set a hearing date on the matter on January 2nd. Later in the news, lifestyle reporter Mark Lundner continues his series of reports on the Coptic Church. Richard?
A line of protesters marched in front of the Metro Justice Building today. They were there to show their support of Valentin Hernandez. He is the man charged in the murder of Cuban. Reporter Mark Lundner takes a look at the Coptic children. They are the source of some controversy because, as their parents do, they too smoke the Coptic sacrament, marijuana.
While the living room decor is early San Francisco bordello, the scene at the Coptic Star Island Mansion is all love and innocence. They have some good-looking children, these Coptics, and those children occupy some of their time with the same activities as other kids. There are important differences, though. These children smoke marijuana, which the Coptics say is their holy sacrament, blended with tobacco. The girls dress in the hyper-modest manner of all the Coptic women, and both boys and girls are taught the world is an evil place, that everything out there is sinful, that beyond their small flock lies Babylon. The Coptic children are awakened every day for the first prayer service at 5 a.m. And at 5 in the morning, the Coptic children chant along with their parents and smoke along with their parents. They are taught early on that marijuana, or ganja as it's known in Jamaica, the place from which this sect sprang, is a God-given communion. Among other things, they also are taught that women exist in the Coptic faith to serve and be subservient to their men. The children, of course, do not go to school to learn all this. As a matter of fact, they don't go to school at all. School comes to them in the form of tutors, outside people whose attitudes are harmonious with the Coptics. Ironically, while their parents have renounced outside employment, the kids tote about their schoolwork in handsome attaché cases, those slim valises so symbolic of the rat race. David and Brian are 12 years old. For most of those years, they have been Coptic children, traveling with their parents between Miami and Jamaica, the Coptic's home office. The children are pale, but appear healthy otherwise. Chuck Bellman is their teacher. School lasts 12 hours a week.
The ganja puts the spirit in you to love your brothers and your sisters. Doesn't put hatred spirit into you. All they do out in Babylon school is fight and do things to one another, bad things.
God, ganja brings you closer to God.
I don't know how anybody that doesn't smoke ganja, I don't know how they could feel good.
Is it fair to bring up little children who really have no choice in what they do? Is it fair to bring them up smoking marijuana and tobacco, yellowing their hands, perhaps hurting their health, when they have no choice in the matter?
Well, the thing is that they love it. What do you, when you say, is it fair? I think it's fair. I think it's right. I think it's good. It's love. It's the life that I want my children, you know, to be brought up in. And I do think it's fair.
What about their health, though?
Well, their health is good. They're healthy children.
It's a troublesome question. At what point, at what threshold of unconventional behavior do parents forfeit the right to bring up their children according to their beliefs? This youngster, though, is not one of the Coptic children. He's from Miami Beach, and he comes to the Coptic mansion after school. And when he comes, he smokes. And there are more like him.
How old are you?
I'm 14.
Mm-hmm. And what brings you out here?
Friends told me about it, and I like it a lot.
What'd the friends say?
That there was a Coptic church, and I never heard about it until I went here, and I experienced that it was real nice, you know.
What's nice about it?
Well, you learn prayers, you learn certain facts, you know, like what's going out, like what's going on.
What about the marijuana? Did that have any appeal for you at all?
Nah, not really.
What did your folks say when you told them you were coming here?
I didn't tell them.
Oh, how'd they find
They
out?
saw me.
What do you mean they saw you?
They saw me come here.
They tell you to stop?
Yes.
Well, what was it that is so important here that made you keep coming anyway?
I don't know. Prayer. I just like it here.
They will come here, and anyhow we discern that they are sincere, that they're not here just to come to get a quick smoke and run out the door, that they're not being disrespectful, that they're showing us the respect that they would show in anything they determine to be a church. We invite the young people in as our guests, yes. We don't solicit them. In all of our advertising, we've never mentioned our address or our telephone number. Yet, a young boy will come to our gate and say, I've heard great things of you. I've heard you possess wisdom. I've heard that you are a cool guy. I've heard you know something. I'd like to hear what you know.
Now, I know what you might be saying. If you TV people would quit talking about the Coptics, kids wouldn't go over there. To some degree, I'm sure you're right. But I think I'm right in making sure you know there are children being taught that smoking marijuana brings them closer to God. And I'm sure that watching marijuana cigarettes burn in little children's mouths burns many of you up. What, you might ask, is being done about all this? What, if anything, do the authorities really know about the Coptics? Vic Walter has been digging into those questions and will have some answers tomorrow. I'm Mark Lundner.
3 days after we filmed at the Coptic Church, Brother Love, the Coptics' unofficial spokesman, announced that no one under 18 would be allowed to visit the Coptics unless accompanied by their parents.
Problems.
Members of the Zion Coptic Church at 43 Star Island on Miami Beach smoke marijuana, or ganja as they call it, 7 days a week around the clock. They even invite outsiders to their home to partake in smoking the illegal weed. In their backyard, they have cultivated several marijuana plants. The Coptics have been doing this openly for nearly 3 years, and during that time, only one police raid has been made on their so-called church. The Miami Beach Police Department obtained a search warrant and raided the Coptics' home in February. They confiscated $91,000 in cash, but found no marijuana. They have not been back and refused to discuss the matter, saying their investigation is continuing. A recent attempt to infiltrate the Coptic church also failed when a man planted inside the church by the Miami Beach Police Department confessed to Coptic leader Brother Love that he was an informant.
Your subpoena, sir. This bids you to be at the State Attorney's Office Monday, December the 4th at 6 o'clock in the evening. To see Mr.
Last Friday, the Dade State Attorney's Office served several members of the church with subpoenas. A few days later, the Coptics were questioned about their use of marijuana at 43 Star Island. Other than to say an investigation is underway, the State Attorney's Office has no other comment. The U.S. Customs Service billed the Coptics in March of this year for over $15 million, a penalty for possession of marijuana with the intent to distribute. The bill referred to nearly 20 tons of marijuana, which police confiscated in a Central Florida raid 10 months ago. Police say the pot belongs to alleged members of the church. The case is still pending, and the Customs Service says it will not comment further. But while the authorities refuse to discuss the Coptics, court documents indicate a belief that the cult members are involved in marijuana smuggling. On November 29, 1977, and on February 2nd of this year, law enforcement officials in Central Florida arrested several persons police say are members of the Coptic Church. The two raids netted a total of 33 tons of marijuana, and the Coptic Church posted over $1 million in bond for those arrested. But the church refuses to confirm if those arrested are, in fact, members of the Coptic organization. And in charges filed by the Internal Revenue Service against the Coptic Church, the government alleges the large number of church members who have been arrested on numerous occasions, along with other church members in marijuana activities, establishes that the church is involved in marijuana smuggling operations. For some 2 years now, the U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration, along with other police agencies, have conducted investigations of the Coptics, while the Coptics continue to openly smoke and grow marijuana at their Miami Beach home with apparent impunity. And Coptic leader Brother Love says not all the marijuana or ganja that is smoked each day comes from 43 Star Island.
Now, certain legal brains will say Star Island is only so big, so it doesn't look like they could. I'm not going to try to tell you that everything I smoke, I grow at this address. I'm telling you that ganja is a gift of God to man. It is planted, whether it's planted in Mexico, Colombia, Jamaica, Thailand, Star Island,
well, how do you get
your
it here?
backyard.
But how do you get it here? That's what I'm asking.
I was explaining it to you. It is a herb that grows anywhere there is earth.
To go out and specifically follow up on the cameras and go into a house and arrest people who are alleged to be smoking marijuana is not a practical approach to the thing, because we're only going to get a small number of people, and that's not going to lead us to the importers. That's not going to get us the information that we need to cut off the supply of drugs coming in.
So what you're saying is you're really not interested with the Coptics and their pot smoking on Star Island. You're interested in the other aspects of maybe their operation.
The international aspects of it, that's correct. Trying to stop it before it gets there. And I can assure you that is under investigation and has been.
I'm trying work to do.
The 24 or so people who live at 43 Star Island don't seem to find any difficulty in quickly replenishing their supply of marijuana. But marijuana costs money. So does the mansion in which these people live, and the cars they drive, the boats they own, and several property holdings they have acquired.
I've got a doctrine, man. You're going on like an investigator.
Well, you won't tell me where you get your money. Is that what you're saying?
Of course not.
Tomorrow night, more on the Coptics. I'm Vic Walter reporting for Channel 7 News.
There's no such thing as the average family. I buy my meat at Publix because they understand that. Sure, they have good beef, but Publix doesn't stop there. They know I expect plenty of choice when it comes to poultry, pork, ham, veal, lamb, and all the other things my family likes. Publix gives me the variety I want. They know I mean business.
Publix, the place for beef.
A store full of Christmas.
Fort Lauderdale, heavily armed Coast Guardsmen have been ordered to board this 50-foot sloop. It's the China Doll out of Wilmington, Delaware. Reason for the caution, the Colombian connection. An annual $6 billion worth of marijuana flowing between South America and Florida. An industry that has been known to convert graceful sloops into pot-hauling freighters. After searching the vessel, the Coast Guard's suspicions are confirmed.
It is marijuana, over.
The China Doll's cabin is crammed with 6 tons of high-grade marijuana. Estimated street value over $4 million.
Place them under arrest. Seize the vessel, the contraband, and all equipment aboard, over.
The 4-man crew, offering no resistance, is taken aboard the cutter, frisked, and placed under armed guard. With the China Doll in tow, the Coast Guardsmen and their catch sail for Miami. The China Doll is one of 100 pot boats seized in the South Atlantic and Caribbean this year. But hundreds more have managed to slip through these waters to the Florida coast. This year, more than 20 million pounds of marijuana have been smuggled into the United States, most by boat and air. Nearly all of it is Colombian grown.
I don't know of any time in the history of the United States when a state has had as its leading industry a criminal activity. Why rob a bank when you have these huge profits to be made and a relatively low risk of being caught, number one, and of being prosecuted, secondly, and thirdly, of serving any time after your conviction?
The government's attempts to curb the endless flow of dope into South Florida can be as frustrating as they are costly. For instance, while their boat and cargo were seized, the crew of the China Doll was set free soon after docking in Miami Beach. Although the Coast Guard has the power to board U.S. vessels on the high seas, mere possession of marijuana is not considered a crime. Only intent to import it is. In this case, the Coast Guard couldn't prove that intention. A handful of cutters like this one help stop only about 10% of the dope traffic entering the United States. The laws governing search and seizure at sea have been called a shark-infested problem by a federal judge. But the Coast Guard hopes at least that pending legislation in Congress will soon make arrests like the China Dolls stand up in court. Bob Serkin, ABC News, off South Florida.
In New York, 1,300 pounds of marijuana being held as evidence for future court cases is missing. It was being stored in a heavily guarded government warehouse, and police said today the theft may have been an inside job. Value of the marijuana? $400,000.
On some of the group's questionable business dealings.
Members of the Coptic Church do not wear expensive clothes or eat expensive foods, but they do own several late-model automobiles, a number of boats, and live in a house purchased in 1975 for $270,000. Recently, the title to the Miami Beach mansion was transferred to Accredited Surety and Casualty Company Incorporated and Schaefer Bonding Service. I have learned that the State Insurance Commissioner's Office is investigating Schaefer Bonding Service. Schaefer had provided over $1 million in bonds for alleged members of the Coptic Church arrested for possessing 33 tons of marijuana. The arrest took place in 2 separate raids in Central Florida. Sources say state investigators are checking to see if Schaefer Bonding Service posted those bonds in accordance with the law. The deed to 43 Star Island was put up as collateral for the bonds, but the house is still said to belong to this woman, identified as Coptic Church member Jacqueline Renee Town. Records show she bought the house in 1976 from fellow church member Peter Sheets for $270,000, the same amount he paid for the home a year earlier. In 1975, Sheets paid off the mortgage on the house in 2 months with cash. According to the Internal Revenue Service, members of the Coptic Church owe the government over $3 million in back taxes on everything from the fleet of cars they drive to several property holdings, including this house located at 6724 Southwest 12th Street. Several members of the Coptic Church are reported to live in the house, which is guarded by iron bars. Due to the large number of assets the Coptic Church is said to have, and because of the lifestyle they lead, they have drawn the attention of several local, state, and federal agencies. Investigators from the State Department of Health and Rehabilitative Services are in the process of determining if Coptic members abuse their children by having them smoke a mixture of tobacco and marijuana. The small children really have no choice in whether they smoke or not. They are taught that marijuana must be smoked in order to lead a holy life. At least one psychiatrist says the marijuana smoking could really harm the children.
My opinion is that the misuse of marijuana or the application of marijuana to children is a form of child abuse, especially against their will. Children can't really make good judgment in that area anyway. But the marijuana having the effect it does on the brain, of course, in children must cause damage to that child in his development and his growth into an adult. Anything that would interfere with the child's development and growth, anything which would interfere with his normal development and growth has to be a form of abuse.
Well, the first thing that needs to be done is a very vigorous investigation of all of the possible violations of law, not least of which could be impairing the morals of minors, because minor children are reported to be involved in going in and out of the 43 Star Island address and being involved possibly with drugs.
Many parents point to what they call the brainwashing techniques of the Coptics. The little sleep, the chanting, the smoking of marijuana. The parents of this 17-year-old Miami Beach High School student became so alarmed at their son's involvement with the Coptics, they hired a professional deprogrammer to reclaim their son from the cult. But Michael Arison's deprogramming was unsuccessful, and he is said to still have serious mental problems. So, where do we stand with the Coptics who live here at 43 Star Island on Miami Beach? The Coptics continue to smoke and grow marijuana here at their so-called church in open defiance of the law. In addition, they admit that they cannot grow enough of the illegal weed here on the island to meet their daily needs. So, what are law enforcement officials doing? They say they are investigating. The fact is, the Coptics have money, apparently lots of money. Enough to hire the best lawyers to ensure that they remain here doing what they've been doing since 1975. It's a situation which continues to exist in spite of a public outcry of disgust. I'm Vic Walter reporting for Channel 7 News.
La Revolución Cubana está allí desde el 59. Han pasado ya prácticamente 20 años. En muchos de los casos nuestros, muchos de nosotros durante un periodo de años combatimos a esa revolución por todos los medios.
¿Se incluye usted en este grupo?
Yo me incluyo en ese grupo. Yo participé en la, aunque no desembarqué en sí, yo participé en la invasión de Bahía de Cochino en el año 61. Pero las circunstancias cambian. Del mismo modo, por ejemplo, que usted no puede tratar igual a un niño de 5 años o a un hijo de 5 años que cuando ese muchacho tiene 15 o 20. Nosotros creemos que del mismo modo que las circunstancias han cambiado aquí, han cambiado también en Cuba. Y creemos que el diálogo es una alternativa práctica dentro de las circunstancias actuales.
Vamos a interrumpir por solo unos instantes y regresamos enseguida con ustedes.
Malnutrición nunca es un retrato hermoso. La mayoría de las víctimas son los niños pequeños. Su contribución a CARE ayuda a cambiar este retrato. Por medio de CARE, reciben alimentos que necesitan con urgencia. Su ayuda significa un mundo de diferencia. Envíe sus dólares a CARE, 145 Madera Avenue, Coral Gables, 33134.
Está para graduarse, disfrute de su tiempo libre, descanse, la Naval le deja. Su programa de reclutamiento diferido le da a usted la oportunidad de registrarse ahora y de no reportarse hasta un año después. Y si usted califica, se le garantiza entrenamiento en el ramo de su predilección. Vea a su recluta naval para más detalles o llámelo gratis al 800-841-8000. La Naval no es solamente un empleo, es una aventura.
Bienvenidos una vez más a Enfoque. Estamos hablando con el doctor Octavio Pino y el señor Francisco González, ambos de la organización conocida como por las siglas NUCA. Estábamos hablando sobre la posibilidad, desde luego, de un diálogo, o las ventajas del diálogo con el gobierno de Cuba, o las desventajas que se pueden derivar del mismo. Sin embargo, quisiéramos dirigir ahora una pregunta al doctor Pino, en el sentido de que a qué atribuye él, en su concepto, a qué se debe este cambio de política, de filosofía, inclusive de trato por parte del gobierno de Cuba hacia la colonia de exilados cubanos. ¿A qué atribuye usted este cambio? Y si cree usted que es una cosa nueva o que tiene quizás algún tipo de comparación o paralelo con algún hecho histórico similar.
Yo quiero primeramente, Mike, hablar de las ventajas de un diálogo, ¿no? Estamos en la clase de situación en que tenemos en la comunidad cubana en el exterior todo que ganar y muy poco que perder. Ha sido a iniciativas del gobierno cubano que se ha puesto en contacto con la comunidad, ha querido dialogar con nosotros. Me parece que desde el punto de vista de el diálogo, la comunidad tiene mucho que ganar. Ahora, sobre el otro punto que me mencionaste, de desarrollos similares, ¿no? En otros países donde han ocurrido revoluciones, digamos, comunistas, socialistas, después de cierto periodo de tiempo, cuando se ha institucionalizado el sistema, ¿no? Ha habido contacto con el exterior, ha habido intercambio cultural, intercambio a varios niveles, ¿no? Y es por esa razón que ahora, después de cierto tiempo de la revolución en Cuba, el gobierno cubano pues quiere intercambiar ideas con los cubanos que también viven en el exterior.
¿A qué atribuyen ustedes este deseo del gobierno cubano? Desde luego no pretendo que ustedes interpreten ni conozcan el sentido de lo que persigue el gobierno de Cuba, pero en opinión personal de ustedes, ¿qué encuentran ustedes que se beneficia al gobierno cubano con este acercamiento o con este supuesto acercamiento?
En realidad no sé cuáles serían los beneficios para el gobierno cubano. Desde luego, un beneficio para nosotros sería que, quién sabe, el gobierno cubano se alejara un poco más de la órbita socialista, ¿no? De la órbita soviética, ya que ocurrirían relaciones a nivel, quién sabe, económico, quién sabe, a nivel político, ¿no?
Ajá. ¿Estiman ustedes, por ejemplo, ahora que usted menciona el asunto económico, estiman ustedes que, dijéramos, en el transcurso del diálogo, si es que este se llegase a producir, surgiese pues la sugerencia de que se levantara el embargo comercial que los Estados Unidos tienen impuestos a Cuba? ¿Creen ustedes quizás que este sería un objetivo por parte del gobierno cubano?
¿Quién sabe? ¿Quién sabe? Puede ser una posibilidad. En realidad nosotros no sabemos dónde está el gobierno cubano hasta que no dialoguemos con ellos.
Exacto. ¿Estarían dispuestos ustedes como organización a participar de un diálogo con el gobierno de Cuba?
Sí, yo creo que sí. Y contestándola, o digo, no es que yo crea que sí, yo sé que la Junta Ejecutiva de NUCA está dispuesta a participar en ese diálogo. Contestando a esta pregunta que le hacía antes al doctor Pino, Octavio, yo pudiera decirte sobre las ventajas, por ejemplo, por qué Cuba en este momento le interesa iniciar ese diálogo con el exilio, ¿no? Yo creo que básicamente Cuba considera, y esto es Cuba, y el análisis que uno tiene de lo que uno percibe, cómo piensa el gobierno, la jerarquía cubana, Yo creo que Cuba considera que la revolución está consolidada. Y yo creo que indudablemente a Cuba le es necesario resolver los problemas que tiene con las comunidades cubanas o con el exilio cubano para ir después a otra serie de posiciones ya de gobierno a gobierno con el gobierno norteamericano. Pero además, yo lo que no sé es por qué nos extraña esto. China y Japón acaban de firmar un tratado de paz, ayuda mutua y no agresión. Y China fue ocupada por Japón durante cerca de 20 años, del año 29 o 30 hasta el año 45, que fue el final de la Segunda Guerra Mundial, por supuesto. Egipto e Israel han firmado ahora, o están en las negociaciones para firmar un tratado de paz. Los soviéticos y los norteamericanos se sientan en una mesa de conferencia y son los dos principales rivales en el mundo a discutir sobre el problema el tratado de limitación de armas nucleares. Es lógico que después de una serie de años de conflicto interno entre nosotros los cubanos y que no parece que hay medios de resolver o dirimir esta cuestión de otra manera, porque una cosa es hablar, pero otra cosa es ir a los hechos, y efectivamente los hechos no se han producido. Pues es lógico entonces sentarse. Si uno no está de acuerdo con lo que se conversa, sencillamente pues uno se va. Pero no es una, yo creo que es una actitud negativa, el de entrada decir, pues yo me opongo a esto, porque además de eso, aquí tenemos personas que dicen, hace falta la liberación de los presos cubanos, de los presos políticos, hace falta la reunificación de la familia, pero no tenemos que hablar con eso con el gobierno cubano. ¿Y con quién vamos a hablar? ¿Con qué gobierno vamos a hablar? ¿Con el turco? ¿O con el vietnamés? Tenemos que hablar con el gobierno cubano, porque es el que lo plantea, y los presos políticos están presos en Cuba. Además hay un corolario a esto. ¿Qué tipo de elemento sería más positivo para su emigración a los Estados Unidos, para su llegada, su venida a Estados Unidos, que el preso político que ha padecido en su carne las torturas, o que sabe lo que es un régimen totalitario? Ese preso político se incorpora aquí y lógicamente se va a incorporar a las actividades de esta nación como país democrático que es. Yo creo que a veces es absurdo, por ejemplo, algunas de las declaraciones que hacen algunas de las personas por aquí son absurdas completamente, sin base, sin análisis. Ahora, por ejemplo, hay un planteamiento de que pueden ser agentes castristas. Así que de manera que gente que lleva presa 15 años o 20 son agentes, pueden ser agentes castristas, ¿no? Pues ese es el tipo de cosas. Yo creo que nosotros tenemos que pensar, analizar la situación.
González, ya que estamos en el tema de los presos, ¿está este tópico de los presos políticos relacionado estrechamente con el asunto del diálogo, o estas son dos cosas totalmente separadas?
El gobierno cubano y factores que aparentemente han hecho contactos con el gobierno cubano plantean que hay tres cosas básicas o que necesarias a discutir. Una es la liberación de los presos políticos, incluyendo presos políticos anteriores al 59, o sea, del régimen de Fulgencio Batista, correcto. Todos aquellos que, como es natural, no tengan en sí crímenes mayores, como asesinatos, etcétera, que estén condenados por esa causa. Después, la reunificación de la familia. Y, por último, el libre acceso de la isla, o sea, de cubanos a la isla y de cubanos de la isla a Estados Unidos.
Dentro de solo unos instantes regresamos con nuestros entrevistados en la noche de hoy.
Va a presenciar usted un acontecimiento extraordinario. Joseph Green está realizando un acto supremo de inteligencia y habilidad que muchos creían muy por encima de su potencial. He aquí. Millones de criaturas desventajadas pueden realizar mucho más de lo que la gente cree, si llegan a recibir la educación especial que precisan. Ofrecemos información gratuita que puede ayudarle. Escriba a Closer Lock, Box 1492, Washington, D.C., 2013.
¿Qué tal si te envuelve un desastre? Que tu hijo se esté ahogando, que tu padre se esté muriendo por falta de sangre. ¿Qué tal si a nadie le importa? A la Cruz Roja le importan muchas cosas que cuestan mucho dinero, pero una vida vale la pena, ¿no te parece? Entonces, contamos contigo.
Bienvenidos nuevamente a Enfoque, con nosotros el doctor Octavio Pino y el señor Francisco González. González, tenemos entendido, desde luego, por los partes de prensa, etcétera, que el gobierno de Cuba está dispuesto a conversar, a dialogar, al menos eso han dicho, con una representación del exilio cubano, o como ellos llaman, con una representación de la colonia cubana en el exterior. ¿Estiman ustedes que, caso de que ustedes viajasen a Cuba a establecer un diálogo o a participar en el diálogo, ustedes estarían en sí representando al exilio cubano?
No, yo te diría lo siguiente. Fidel Castro, cuando habló en esa conferencia que tuvo, ¿no?, con los periodistas exilados, y después lo repitió así señor Sánchez Parodi, que es el encargado de asuntos cubanos, ¿no?, de la Oficina de Intereses Cubanos en Washington, que lo que se están buscando es personas representativas o figuras representativas. Yo creo que ya en esta época en el exilio no hay ninguna organización, no hay ninguna figura, no hay ninguna persona que se pueda abrogar el derecho a decir que es representante o que representa al exilio. Vivimos en una sociedad pluralista, una sociedad eminentemente democrática. Muchos de nosotros llevamos viviendo aquí 10, 15, 20 años. Y por lo tanto una serie de cosas, de virtudes, gracias a Dios, ¿no?, que tiene esta nación, pues se nos ha pegado, las tenemos ahora también nosotros. Yo creo que, por ejemplo, NUCA representa un sector o una vertiente del exilio, del mismo modo que hay otras organizaciones que representan otras vertientes. Cuando nosotros hablamos aquí de representación, ya hablamos de 500 o 1000 cubanos que agrupe una organización. Tenemos sencillamente que pensar que en este país habemos aproximadamente 700.000 cubanos, lo cual quiere decir que 1000 o 2000 cubanos no representan ni 2 o 3 décimos del 1% de esa población cubana exilada que hay en los Estados Unidos en general. Así que desde ese punto de vista sí nosotros nos consideramos una organización representativa, pero no que representamos específicamente al exilio cubano. Y como te vuelvo a repetir, no creo que ninguna organización, ni ninguna persona, ni ningún grupo se pueda abrogar esa cosa, ¿no?, de decir nosotros representamos al exilio cubano. Yo creo que en esta cosa, yo especulo, o me imagino que en estos equipos de negociación van a ir una serie de personas distintas, de elementos distintos, de distintas vertientes. Y yo me imagino que en algunos casos inclusive te va a causar sorpresa algunas de estas personas que van a ir, ¿no? Y yo creo que va a ser numeroso esos contingentes que van.
Sería imprudente de mi parte, señor González, preguntarle en este momento en que estamos hablando, ¿verdad? ¿Cuál cree usted que ha de ser el tema principal que su organización va a insistir en este diálogo? ¿Cuál cree usted que ha de ser la temática que van ustedes a plantear si es que llegan a tener esa oportunidad?
Nosotros vamos a plantear básicamente, o las personas que vayan allá representando a NUCA, vamos a hacer énfasis como natural en los 3 tópicos básicos que ya hemos mencionado anteriormente: liberación de presos políticos, reunificación familiar y libre acceso a la isla. Pero yo creo que hay una serie de cosas que se pueden plantear después, tales como intercambios culturales, libre. Vamos, no quisiera tocar, porque sería especulación, básicamente, pero yo diría que, por ejemplo, intercambios culturales va a ser pudiera ser uno de los corolarios a estos 3 tópicos básicos que se van a tocar o que se tocarán en el principio.
Desde el punto de vista de la reunificación de las familias, esto desde luego entrañaría que las familias residentes en Miami y en otras partes de los Estados Unidos y del mundo en general, pues tuviesen la oportunidad de regresar a Cuba, si así lo desean, a reunirse con sus familiares, ¿verdad?
Correcto.
¿Cree usted que el consenso general de opinión es favorable a esta opinión? Es decir, ¿cree usted que si fuésemos a establecer un porcentaje de las personas que estarían dispuestas a ir, ¿cree usted que la mayoría estaría dispuesta a dar este viaje?
Yo creo que muchos estarían dispuestos a dar el viaje, pero no a quedarse. Porque hay una cosa que es básica en esto. En muchos casos, muchos de nosotros hemos rehecho nuestra vida fuera de Cuba. Y yo creo que en muchos casos nos sería difícil reincorporarnos a un tipo de sociedad que no brinda los mismos tipos de oportunidad o de circunstancias, por ejemplo, que tenemos en Estados Unidos o que hay en otras sociedades occidentales, ¿no? Pero yo sí creo que es posible que algunos regresen y el gobierno cubano posiblemente también los aceptaría. Claro, debemos tener en cuenta también que Cuba es un país que no tiene los medios económicos que tiene, por ejemplo, los Estados Unidos. En otras palabras, si 100.000 cubanos o cubanoamericanos o de distintas otras naciones o que residen ahora en otras naciones decidieran regresar a Cuba, pues yo creo que sería un problema tremendo para el gobierno cubano porque no habría alojamiento, no habría viviendas, ¿no?, para esas personas.
Vamos a poner el caso inversa. ¿Creen ustedes que el gobierno de Cuba estaría dispuesto a establecer una calle de 2 vías, es decir, de dejar salir a personas de Cuba que quisieran reunirse dentro del programa de reunificación familiar?
Hombre, pues precisamente para esto, esta es una de las cuestiones básicas a discutir en los tópicos, en la agenda a discutir, ¿no?, del equipo de negociación. Es precisamente ese camino de 2 vías, específicamente el libre acceso a Cuba por cubanos residentes en el extranjero y el libre acceso de cubanos residentes en Cuba, en la isla, a países del extranjero, donde hay familiares de ellos. Este es uno de los 3 tópicos de esa agenda.
Las personas que habrán de participar de este diálogo, si es que se llega a producir el diálogo, desde luego, ¿cómo es que van a ser seleccionadas? ¿Cómo es que se va a determinar quién va a Cuba a hablar y quién no va a Cuba a hablar? ¿Tienen ustedes alguna información al respecto?
No, realmente no. Desgraciadamente, en el exilio o en el extranjero, nosotros los cubanos no hemos sido muy capaces de organizarnos hasta el momento, ¿no?, como fuerza política o como fuerza, digamos, beligerante contra la revolución en otras épocas. Yo creo que en muchos casos va a ser un problema de situaciones individuales y va a ser un problema de trayectoria por parte de esa persona, de seriedad, de honestidad, que reflejen esas personas a través de una conducta de un número determinado de años. Basado en eso.
Vamos a tomar un receso de solo unos instantes y regresamos enseguida con ustedes.
Debo apoyarme en esos letreritos mientras hablo porque no hay mucho tiempo. Bien, si ya ha oído hablar de nosotros y necesita alguna información adicional, llámenos. Si no ha oído hablar, le diré muy deprisa que pertenecemos al único programa de drama en español en los Estados Unidos y que estamos acreditados en todas las universidades del país. Nuestra próxima presentación, Guaracha Rock, programada para los días 6, 7 y 8 de octubre, tratará muchos de los aspectos que preocupan a nuestros jóvenes. Y haremos, como promete el título, una atrevida mezcla de música y lenguaje. Si usted está seriamente interesado en el arte dramático, llámenos. Y si piensa que no está seriamente interesado, permítame hacerle esta pregunta, bien en serio. ¿Acaso no somos todos actores en el teatro diario?
Bienvenidos nuevamente a Enfoque. Solo nos quedan unos minutos para hablar con nuestros invitados esta noche. Quisiéramos que el doctor Pino nos dijese, doctor Pino, ¿qué cree usted en cuanto al resultado de estos diálogos, de estas conversaciones, si es que en definitiva se llegan a efectuar? ¿Es usted optimista en cuanto al resultado de los mismos?
Yo creo que sí, yo permanezco optimista. Como dije anteriormente, me parece que tanto los cubanos en el exterior como los cubanos en Cuba tenemos bastante que ganar como resultado de las conversaciones y yo espero que sean fructíferas y permanezco en una posición optimista.
Señor González, ¿cuál es su impresión? ¿Cuál es su...?
Yo soy un eterno optimista, en general, por naturaleza humana, diríamos. Yo veo en esto un paso práctico, una alternativa práctica por parte de allá. Yo creo que nosotros también aquí debemos ser prácticos. Yo creo básicamente, para terminar, en lo siguiente. Hay una serie de diferencias ideológicas que existen entre los cubanos de allá y los de aquí. Pero yo creo que hay una serie de cosas básicas, tales como la lengua, el idioma, la idiosincrasia, el carácter, que también nos unen. Así que vamos a tratar de hacer énfasis en lo positivo.
Muy bien, pues muchísimas gracias al doctor Pino y al señor González por haber estado con nosotros compartiendo esta charla. A ustedes muchísimas gracias por la atención a Enfoque. Nos vemos el próximo sábado, Dios mediante, a las 10:30 de la noche. And now back to News Center 6 for an update of today's news.
This is the news update. Minutes ago, we received this report from Georgetown, Guyana, where police in the South American nation say Congressman Leo Ryan was shot and perhaps killed along with others of his party in a shootout at a landing strip. Ryan, a Democrat from California, was on a mission to check reports that Americans were being kept prisoner at a religious jungle colony. Georgetown police say that about 20 persons were killed in a gunfight at the local airport. Early reports are that an undetermined number of Americans were shot in that incident. A study conducted by the Organization of American States shows that the Nicaraguan people are fed up with President Anastasio Somoza, and what they want is a democratic government. A report by the Human Rights Commission accuses Somoza's National Guard of what it calls grave, persistent, and widespread atrocities. And now with a sports update, here's Dan Carney.
Eliana, the University of Miami held on to their lead and beat the San Diego State Aztecs in the Orange Bowl tonight, 16-14. So Miami is now 4-5 on the year. The Orange Men of Syracuse will invade the Orange Bowl next week. Saturday night kickoff will be again at 7:30. Now, as we mentioned before, it's going to be the Nebraska Cornhuskers up against the Oklahoma Sooners for a rematch in this year's Orange Bowl Classic, January 1st. A lot more bowl game announcements were made today. This is how they'll stack up. Missouri and LSU will be in the Liberty Bowl. North Carolina State and Pittsburgh will do battle in the Tangerine Bowl. Either Michigan or Ohio State will go against Clemson in the Gator Bowl. Arkansas and UCLA are in the Fiesta Bowl. And the #1 Penn State Nittany Lions will be in the Sugar Bowl against either the Auburn Tigers or the Alabama Crimson Tide. That's it for sports. Now back to Eliana.
Thank you, Dan. 4 employees of a burger chef in Speedway, Indiana are still missing tonight, nearly 24 hours after they were apparently kidnapped during a robbery. Police speculate 1 or 2 of the young workers may have recognized one of the robbers, who apparently entered during after-hours cleanup. There have been no reported demands for ransom. And that's all the news this Saturday evening. Mike McClellan and Dan Carney will be back tomorrow with a Sunday edition of the 10 o'clock news. I'm Ileana Bravo for the entire TV6 News team. Have a great night.
Hello, I'm Detective Jack Blankenship of the Miami Police Department's burglary unit. Picture this, if you will. You have been away. As you return to your house, you notice the front door is wide open. Immediately you think, did I lock that door before I left? Coming closer, you see the contents of the hall closet strewn about the floor. Now the realization strikes you. I've been burglarized. Throughout the house, the terrible aftermath of the burglar is seen. Drawers have been pulled out and dumped. Closets emptied, coin banks smashed, your jewelry, appliances, and other valuables are missing. When the police arrive, they ask questions. Did you lock all the doors and windows before you left? Did you leave a light on? Do you have an alarm? Do you have a list of the serial numbers of the missing items? To each question, your answer is no, I never thought of that. Take a few precautions now to stop the burglar before he stops at your house. Thank you.
We're WCIX, TV6 and 33, Miami's 10 o'clock news station, with an hour of news an hour sooner.
The dramatization you're about to see is based on an actual, investigated, and documented case history of psychic phenomena. It is the next step beyond.